Today I'm taking out the new for 2017 BMW F800 GS. It's in the fancy GS trophy paint scheme, which is really cool actually. It's got a nice little bench seat, some engine bars just down there, so engine bars. It's got reinforced handguards as well here. And then, like I say, tiny little screen at the front, but first thing I noticed when I got on it was just how tiny it is. It's really small compared with the 1200 GS. Really narrow, really small. The handlebars, they're tilted quite far forward, so it feels really, really aggressive when you get on it. The only bike I've ridden that feels like this aggressive, was the little KX80 I had when I was a kid. Like I say, the handlebars are really far forward, sticking up. So it pulls you into a nice little aggressive stance. And with that said, that would make it really good for off-roading. So it's really light. The engine's really revvy. So it is quite responsive actually for a little 800. It is a funny looking character. Obviously BMW love their headlights that don't quite match on each side, okay, but it has got a funny it reminds me of Howard the Duck, to be honest. I don't know if anybody remembers that film, but so the other side we've got the engine bars. That would sound really good with an Akrapovic end can or something, or other brands are available, but that would sound really good with an end can. The major gripe I've got with this, and I've done about 20 miles on it so far, is that gear lever. Now I don't know if it's the boots I'm wearing or if it's just the positioning of the gear lever, but I have to sit really forwards onto the seat so I can get my foot underneath so I can change up a gear, so from first upwards. So it looks kind of bizarre. Like I say, I have to sit pretty much on the petrol tank so I can get my foot angled down and in that gap. I've got Alpine Stars Corazol boots on. They are thicker than normal road or touring boots, but that shouldn't really make a difference considering this bike would be good for riding off-road. So that could be rectified, I suppose, with changing the lever, just moving it up and down a little bit, probably up a little bit for my boots, or if you've got thinner soled boots. But it's a great little bike. I'm going to take it on some twisters in a moment, but let's see what it sounds like. So, nice and quiet and take over. Again, BMW's got the mass centralisation. Started in motorsport, road racing, and it just makes total sense. So, but it sounds pretty good. So, like I say, chain driven was like the 1200, which is shaft drive. It's a good looking little bike. Like I say, if I was going to do stacks and stacks of off-roading, this would be far better than the 1200 GS, just because it's so much lighter and narrower, so you can throw it around a lot more, and you haven't got that ungainly weight. It's all fitted with pannier racks, so you can fit the BMW Vario cases to it as standard, so they just clip in really quickly. That screen is tiny at the front, but it does seem to work. I'm still getting wet a bit, but it's chucking it down. I can't do anything about the weather. But yeah, so that's enough of a little walk around. The spoke wheels are not as nice on the 1200 Rally, the GS 1200 Rally, which I've got, and those black spokes with the single-sided shaft drive swing arm look amazing. But this bike is considerably cheaper. But anyway, I'm just going to take it out for a spin. Okay, so let's go and get some twisters done. I love that GS trophy badge. It's weird. It's got GS trophy all over it. GS trophy's the weather dress over there as well, but they use the 1200 for the GS trophy. You would think that maybe BMW would kit one out, one of the 1200s out in the GS stuff. So anyway, the seat is tiny. Like I say, it's a narrow bench seat. It's still quite a tall bike. My little short legs. Right. Let's see if we can beat this truck. Sure can. Like I mentioned, the gear lever is such a weird position. I have to pretty much sit on the pedal tank so I can change up to second from first. So maybe it's my boots, or just maybe it's too low. Anyway, shouldn't really need any more gears down this road. So it's a bit windy, but that's nothing to do with the bike. It's the middle of May, typical British summertime or springtime, and it's chucking it down. So it's quite responsive. It's quite. I mean, this bike's got 110 miles on the clock. Had less than that when I picked it up. I think it had 95 miles on the clock when they gave me the keys. It's pretty good of them. So running the bad boy in for him a little bit. This van just moves over. She's being greedy, taking up all the cars on me. Thank you. It's really responsive. The engine's quite revvy. It's only a parallel twin, but the roads are pretty greasy today, so I'm not going to be like caning it. So engine modes, we're pretty limited to engine modes. We have enduro, road, and dynamic. So this has got twin discs up front, and the feel's not as good as the 1200 GS, and the lever's not adjustable for span. That'll come down to the difference in price. I mean, it doesn't cost a lot of money, I suppose, for an adjustable lever, but it's a great bike. You have loads of fun on this thing. I've had some knobbly tyres on. Yeah, if I had some knobbly tyres on, I'd be straight in the puddles. Some farmer's field tearing out. So yeah, this bike is great, it's loads of fun. Apart from that bloody gear lever, I'd love to be able to get out on this off-road, proper off-road, but obviously I'm not allowed to do that on this bike. So I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate it. But it's so light, so responsive, it steers so sweetly for such a tall bike. Obviously you're not going to be pushing it to sports bike speeds, but for normal road speeds on these tyres, these are Anarchy 3s, just like the ones on the 1200 GS. So just coming into Tor Point, catch the ferry back over to Plymouth. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get on that ferry and not have to wait. Here. Sweet, straight on. I can't believe how tall it is. So, just put it on its centre stand. Centre stand is right up next to the pillion. Foot peg is really hard to find. Super simple to pop on the stand. It's so balanced. So, anyway, that's BMW's F800 GS, fully tooled up. They would make a really good off-road bike. 21-inch front wheel, mega soft and responsive, but it's not overly powerful, so you're not going to be like full of wheel spin all the time. So, but it would make a like I say, it would make a good first adventure bike. It's not massive, it's not overly aggressive with the power like the KTMs and stuff like that, with massive amounts of power for a bike that they're selling for an off-road bike. Do you really need it? Probably not. So this is a great bike. So if you're in the market thinking about it, definitely go and check one out, and then try it maybe against the Africa Twin. I don't think the Africa Twin and the 1200 GS are direct competitors because of the engine size difference and power difference, but saying that, this is only 800cc compared with the Africa Twin's 1000, so but it feels about the same sort of size. So go check them out back to back, see what you like the best.